This is Humanities in the Western Tradition, Lecture 8, Aristotle. Aristotle was born in 384 BCE in Thrace. Thrace was not considered Greece proper, it's in the north, but it is well connected to the other Greek city-states. Aristotle's father was named Nicomachus. He was a court physician to the Macedonian kings. This inspired a scientific view of things in Aristotle, and it also gave him the opportunity to become the tutor of the future Alexander the Great in 343 BCE. He came to Athens at age 18 in around 367 to study in Plato's academy under Plato. In 335 BCE, he founded his own school in Athens, known as the Lyceum. After the death of Alexander the Great in 323, he voluntarily left Athens because Alexander had died, and there was strong anti-Macedonian sentiment then. He died the following year. Aristotle had a very wide breadth of interests, very eclectic interests. He wrote on art, on drama, on aesthetics, science, ethics, and politics. Together with his systematic use of logic, this makes him the authority in philosophy for the next 2,000 years. He's also the very first critic of Plato. Aristotle uses a form of logic called deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning tells us that with a given set of premises or true statements, certain logical conclusions can be reached. For instance, here's a little syllogism, an argument, a deductive argument. All men are mortal. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. So, as we look at a syllogism, an argument, a deductive argument, we can reason a certain answer or conclusion from the premises given. If it is true that all men are mortal, and if it is true that Socrates is a man, then Socrates must also be mortal. This kind of logic is prevalent throughout Aristotle's reasoning. Let's compare a little bit between Plato and Aristotle. They had some similarities, some common ideas. Both of them stress the use of reason. They believe man is at his best when acting rationally and thinking. Both see a purpose in the cosmos. All things happen for a reason. Both of them value moderation, although they both achieve it differently. Both are committed to the polis, the city, as a source of good life. The fundamental differences between the two are stylistic. Plato wrote dialogues and conversations. Aristotle wrote cold, detached prose. Plato is abstract and idealistic. Aristotle is concrete and practical. Their definitions of reality and how we know it also differ. For Aristotle, no higher world of being exists. The real world, what Plato would have called the world of becoming, is this one in which we live of matter and sense perception. Aristotle does not believe in the immortality of the individual, in the immortality of the soul. This is the only life you live. When this life is done, that's it, you're done. Aristotle's metaphysics and epistemology revolve around matter and form. Now, this is not the kind of form that Plato refers to when he talks about ideal forms. This is, in Aristotle's mind, real substantive form on earth that we can sense and taste and touch. It is made of matter, the substance, and the form is the shape. This is both potential and actual. If you take, in terms of the human soul, the form of a man differs from that of a woman, and their functions thus differ. Form is related to function and gender. We know the form of a chair, for example, by looking at and using chairs. To Aristotle, reality and truth must be verifiable in the world. In terms of matter and form, where Plato separated them, Aristotle says they're inseparable. Both are necessary for something to exist. Matter can be many things. Form determines what it is. So form gives identity, utility, and value to matter. In terms of the human person, since the form and matter are inseparable and the body and soul are inseparable, and the soul, to Aristotle, the soul necessarily dies with the body. Thus, there is no personal afterlife. In terms of the soul, Aristotle believed in a hierarchy. The soul for Aristotle is the mind or the reason of the individual. And souls come in three different forms, three different types. The basic soul is nutritive. All living things have it. The next and more sophisticated soul is the sensitive soul. Animals have it along with the nutritive soul. The highest soul is the rational soul. Only humans have it, along with both nutritive and sensitive souls. The soul, or the form, is what makes a dog, a man, a woman, and since it dies with the body, reincarnation is impossible. There is no transmigration of souls. Reality is purely physical. We know it by our senses as well as by logic. So unlike Plato and Socrates, man has no a priori or knowledge from before his life. To Aristotle, this means reality can change. Causation is Aristotle's concept of how reality changes. Change equals an evolution in form. Potential can become actual. A material cause or matter can take a formal shape or design. An efficient cause is the force that causes that change, and the final cause is the purpose of all of that. The process repeats, and a higher reality or purpose is achieved. Here's a little graphic of Aristotle's idea of causation. Note that the block of marble is the material cause. There is the marble. It has in it the potential of a statue. The formal cause is the idea that the sculptor has. The efficient cause is the sculptor himself at work, and the final cause is the finished statue that'll be displayed in a temple or wherever the sculptor intends it. Aristotle also had views on cosmology. He believed the universe was geocentric. That means the Earth is the middle of the universe. It is fixed. Planets revolve around it. The heavens move because of a perfect, pure actuality, pure thought of an unmoved mover, pure form without matter. It's Aristotle's idea of God, though not a personal God. The unmoved mover is self-absorbed and unreachable to humans. It is a perfect being, also called the first or the prime mover. Now this idea of an unmoved mover who set the universe into motion and then ignored it is going to later be picked up by Christian theologians and compared to the Christian God. Aristotle's ethics, Nicomachean ethics, involve practical knowledge, things we can change. He assumes that all people are potentially virtuous. Virtue is a habit, trained faculty of choice, a middle position between two extremes, guided by reason, observable in action, through moderation. Virtue is not absolute, but relative to situations. For example, you can become courageous in the face of danger. That's a middle position between cowardice and bravado. Since this is a learned activity, it's rational. The goal of ethics for Aristotle and rationalism, then, is happiness in the good life. One cannot simply be virtuous. One becomes virtuous by acting with moderation. Reality must be verifiable. So knowledge is not virtue. Remember Plato and Socrates, who thought all knowledge was virtue? For Aristotle, virtue is the result of habit, training. Instead of some absolute, perfect, ideal good to be contemplated, Aristotle's good is attainable for everyone. It's flexible, practical, workable. There is no dualism, no conflict of lower and higher worlds. Aristotle has an idea of the golden mean. This is the middle ground. and virtue comes with acting in moderation. The chief end for man, according to Aristotle, is realization of that which is best in man, which is also reason. Aristotle also wrote on politics. To Aristotle, man is a political animal as well as a rational animal. He is social by nature. Human potential can only become actual in the polis. So the state and the polis, the city, exist as a community established in order to create the good life. Where Plato separated wealth from power and had empowered classes live a communal life in his Republic, Aristotle rejects the idea of communalism and would combine wealth and power, arguing for government by the middle classes, that moderate middle. The best state has a large middle class, Aristotle says. Both the majority of citizens and the majority of wealth have a stake in it. This leads, according to Aristotle, to a natural stability. So civic virtue is homegrown, not imposed from a few philosophers above. Aristotle distinguished good government from bad government by looking at its purpose. There's more than one form of good government, and all are good if they aim at the common good. If government promotes self-interest, it becomes perverted and therefore bad. Examples for Aristotle of good forms of government are monarchy, aristocracy, polity, which is a constitutional republic. Bad forms involve tyranny, oligarchy, and democracy. For him, the constitutional republic was usually the preferred form because it embodied the golden mean, that idea of moderation. Aristotle's legacy is interesting. Aristotle is known as the philosopher in the Middle Ages well into the Renaissance, especially for the scientific-minded. As more and more is discovered about him in the Middle Ages, Jews, Christians, and Muslims will strive to reconcile his ideas with their own revelations and their ideas of religion.